I want to talk to you about a certain type of person. I'm not sure how I'm going to title this. This is going to be either the double user or the user 2.0. I want to give you a personality profile of this person, and I want to give you some of the tactics that they use to get you roped up in their bullshit, basically. I'm going to give you a case in point, and if it resonates with you, I do hope this message helps you. The double user is the type of person, they're all about themselves because they're a user, okay? But when they use their resources, they don't just use them one at a time. They use them 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time. And most of the time, these resources come in the form of other people. They do not have any genuine care or concern for the other person. The only time they show any care or concern for the other person is if that person has something to offer them to further their agenda, regardless of what it is. They will use one person for one thing and then use another person for another thing. They apply expiration dates to people in regards to relationships. They figure, okay, well, this person's no longer giving me what I want, so their time is up, so let me go ahead and get rid of them and go ahead and use this other person. And sometimes they'll overlap these people so that way there won't be a gap in their so-called agenda. These people are very sick. Let me give you a case in point. Some of you might be able to relate to this. This is strictly a fictitious situation. However, it's based on experiences that I've dealt with and been privy to. So it's not, anyway. Let's say that John doesn't have a lot of long-term relationships. John is moderately successful. He's not as successful as he wants to be. I mean, he's a little bit better off than the average Joe, but because of his level of low self-esteem and dissatisfaction, he feels he needs a little bit more. John's not a patient person. Never has been. That's why he doesn't have many long-term relationships. John lives in a very nice upper middle income neighborhood, drives a, $50,000 plus car, which is, more commonplace nowadays than before, but still. Car's paid off, house is almost paid off, works a career, makes 6 figures, but he's not satisfied. John wants a certain thing. He wants to be at a certain level in his life. And there's nothing wrong with being successful, as long as you do the work. But John doesn't want to do the work because John's already past 40 years old. And his goal of being a millionaire by the time he was 40 has permeated his psyche so much to the point where he actually feels desperate because he didn't meet his goal. He's suffering from a proverbial mind fuck that he created. It's like all of a sudden it's this life or death situation. Oh gosh, I'm 42 years old. I didn't become a millionaire when I was 40. Oh my God. It's the end of the world, sort of Damocles, blah, 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 instead of just looking at the blessings he already has. So he feels in his mind that the clock is ticking. So instead of just trying to maybe try something new or reevaluate his game plan, or better yet, just be thankful for what he has and keep it moving, he decides he's going to get involved with Joan. Okay? Joan is a director of nursing. She has her own home. She's a divorcee. Children are grown and off to college. He really isn't turned on by Joan. I mean, he's known Joan by association for quite some time. But he decides in his mind, okay, if I get her resources and combine it with mine, then that's going to increase my value and my net worth. And then I'll be one step closer to accomplishing what I need to accomplish. Already in the user mindset, his feelings are not even that serious about Joan. So he brainwashed himself to believe that all of a sudden Joan is this great woman. Now he's known her for a while through association. All of a sudden Joan is attractive. All of a sudden Joan is smart. All of a sudden Joan has great conversation. All of a sudden Joan is generous. All of a sudden Joan. So what he does is he goes around to all his friends and family and he's praising St. Joan. Joan, of course, being a woman, she likes the attention. She's thinking, oh, wow, this man liked me the whole time and I didn't even realize it. And that's a normal reaction that a woman feels because women like attention, bottom line. So her and John get involved, and eventually, they're dating each other and everything else. John doesn't even, he responds to her, but the thing is he doesn't even think that she's great in bed or anything like that. But he's playing the role because she's a great asset to him. So eventually they wind up moving in together, make plans to get married. Lo and behold, there's a cousin or maybe an old friend from school came up, decided to, I don't know, come up with a best-selling novel. All of a sudden they're a world-renowned novelist, but they're going through a nasty divorce. So their assets are kind of like in limbo. John sees this, and he's like, wow, so-and-so's going through so-and-so. If I had so-and-so in here, and I know that they're making more money than Joan and they have more to offer, let me see if I can get so-and-so to come live with me while they're working everything out. That way I won't have to give up all this stuff to Joan, because I'm not really feeling her no way. And I'm ready to move on because, I've been checking out that temp that came into the office the other day. I really want to deal with her. And that way, if I got family in here to help me out, because I see that family's going to be making way more money than Joan, then that's going to even do me better, because that'll be less overhead as far as my bills are concerned, and that's family. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them in because they can give me the extra $5,000 a month that I need to reach my goal. See where John's thinking. So he's shifted his focus from the first person that he used to the second person. He goes ahead and he pitches the deal to the person, because this person is in a state of disadvantage right now. Got a golden opportunity, but the assets are tied up right now. So he's kind of stressed out. So he goes ahead and gets that person to move in with him. They're getting along fine. He could be single, so-called, but he's got to figure out how to get rid of Joan. So all of a sudden, there's all these problems. All of a sudden, Joan's not right, and this, that, and the other, and it's this and this. He's picking fights and everything else. And if you heard my previous audio, I told you about the ways that some people are trying to get rid of you, and picking fights is one of them. Picking fights about things that person had been doing the whole time. All of a sudden, it's an issue. They're trying to get rid of you. So he's trying to get rid of Joan because he knows that this friend or cousin, whoever it is, has more money to give him to help him further his agenda and meet his financial goal. So he goes ahead and uses Joan. I'm going to tell you what happens with this. Now, Joan goes about her merry way. But a couple of months later, he gets served with papers. Joan is suing him for breach of contract. She's got receipts for everything she paid for in the household, and John didn't know this. Every time she paid a bill, every time she did something in his name, she kept receipts. She had credit card bills. She kept all the texts that were exchanged between the both of them. She kept all the communication. This woman's got receipts up the yin-yang. John didn't know that. He thought his game was A game, but Joan's game was better than his. So now he's getting served with papers. Now, what do y'all think happens? Do you think that John accomplishes his goal? Now, while all of this is going on, the cousin or friend or whoever it is there. They're getting out of their mess. And then they go to John during that time and say, by the way, I'm back on my feet and everything, but you know what? I need to go ahead and I need to be closer to New York where the publishing company is. So, I really am thankful for you. That's great. That's wonderful. I'm glad you helped me in this temporary situation, but I got to go. So they bounce. John wasn't looking for that. He was dependent on that income to further his agenda. And now he's got a lawsuit against his girlfriend that he brought into the picture. All these things happen at one time, and they happen at one time for a reason. All of this happened to John because his intent was wrong from the get-go. He used these people. And whether they're aware of the game or not, the way things went down, it was justified. So, of course, John does not meet his goal. John doesn't get it. And the point is, there are people in this world who do not get it, no matter what you say, no matter what you do. And of course, John, being the narcissist that he is, he plays the victim. All of a sudden, he's having a hard time. I'm depressed. I don't have enough time. All of a sudden, he's human now. Because shit's not going his way anymore. See, when things were good, you couldn't tell John nothing. You couldn't even breathe in his direction. You couldn't even share his headspace. But the minute things go bad, all of a sudden, he doesn't have anybody to turn to because he burned those bridges. He's hurt so many people. So in some cases, unfortunately, people don't want to be around anymore. He based his entire existence on who he could influence and what he could get. He based his entire existence on that. No spiritual connection, no shadow work, no self-development. He was the shit. Now he's going through some shit. And he has nobody to turn to. Because people have memories. He's the victim now. And there may be a stranger or two that might help him, but it's not going to be enough. Then one day, John checks out. So I say this to say this, people. Trying to use others to further your agenda, that's dead. It's not going to work. All you have to do is just be patient, first of all. Go to your higher power and find out what you really need to do, because you're obviously in a bad headspace if you're thinking about using people. If your finances are short in your house that you choose to move into, in a career that you chose to take, in a car that you chose to drive and make payments for, and clothes that you choose to buy, it is not anybody else's responsibility to take care of your lifestyle. When you made those choices. Now, if that person's name is on all that paperwork, then they're just as responsible as you are. But if their name is not on that paperwork and it's just yours, it's your responsibility and that's it. Don't go out here looking for somebody to help you do something that they had nothing to do with, you accumulating. It's not right. You're using people. And I see people right now know for a doggone fact they can't afford where they are. They might be able to do it for a couple of months. But the first thing they want to do is they want to try to go to relatives and this, that, and the other and try to convince them that it'll be better if they live with them. If we get together, it'll be a little bit better. And all you have to do is give me X, Y, Z, and you'll be living in a better neighborhood. And then, everything is just all one bill. And you can come and go as you please. I mean, they paint this beautiful picture. But the truth is, sometimes it's better for you to be by yourself where you are than to try to level up financially and make yourself privy to somebody else's drama, because it's not worth it. So I hope this kind of helps somebody. But yeah, that's the double user.